Welcome everyone to our ML Summit session. Today I have the pleasure of interviewing Jo Napolitano, who is the author of the book, The School I Deserve. And we also have a very special guest today, Khadija Isa, who is one of the students that was highlighted in the book. We've been reading The School I Deserve for MLL Chat Book Club for the past month, and I've heard from so many participants, I couldn't put it down. What a great story. Other people have shared about crying as they read the pages because it's such a wonderful, compelling story. For anyone who hasn't yet read the book, I just want to read one of the little excerpts on the back to give you an idea of what it's about. One of the paragraphs says, Napolitano's compelling story of teenage refugees denied the same high school education as their Pennsylvania peers is both heartbreaking and infuriating. It's an intimate story, and yet Napolitano's exhaustive research also underscores the consequences of inequality. This book represents a historical moment as important as Brown versus Board of Education, and every democracy-loving American needs to read it. So if you haven't read it, you need to. I know that Tan Nguyen interviewed you, Jo, for his podcast, and Carol Salva interviewed you for her Boosting Achievement podcast, and Pam Broussard did too. And this interview is a little bit different in that our audience today for ML Summit is educators who teach multilingual learners. And so these are educators who are passionate about serving students like you, Khadija. It is our pleasure and honor to serve our students, and we are always trying to learn how we can do that to the best extent possible. So we're so excited to hear directly from you today. And the questions I have really focus on school and instruction and what we can do to best serve all of our multilingual students. So Jo, I'd love to start with a question for you. What does your story highlight about or reveal about the education system in the US?
So I think, firstly, thank you so much for having me. Thank you to everyone who has read or will read the book. It means the world to me. If you like the book, please review it on places like Amazon. It would be so great for me. What this book reveals about US public schools, we kind of have a blind spot when it comes to children who are coming here who do not master English just yet. I feel like we don't ever consider that some of these children are quite ambitious, obviously extraordinarily intelligent, incredibly have all the grit we used to talk about 5-10 years ago. They have it, to spare. These are really tenacious group of learners, and I feel like we underestimate their interest in school and certainly their ability, and as a result, we're missing out on all the incredible gifts that they can give.
That's really important. Oh, go ahead, Khadija.
I say that's really awesome.
That's really awesome. Yeah, I think one of the overarching themes of this ML Summit is just that as educators, we need to be asset oriented and really honor what our students bring to the classroom, because they do have such a wealth of knowledge and talents and just really incredible stories that we need to know so that when we design instruction, can really meet their needs. What you highlight in the book was a school that was not meeting the needs of students who still needed to acquire English. And that was such a poignant part of the case and the reason why Khadija and her peers had to sue the school district because their needs were not being met. The school that they were being sent to was not appropriate for students who needed to gain more English and had many, many inappropriate factors. Jo, what advice would you give to teachers or other stakeholders in education when they encounter a violation of students' rights or an injustice like the one that you wrote about?
I think, unfortunately, this is actually very common where schools will put up these things called barriers to enrollment. They'll kind of create these weird requirements for how old you have to be to enter a certain grade. Meanwhile, the reality is that children have a right to attend the school in the district in which they live, commonly through the age of 21. Now, that age does vary from state to state, but that is that child's right. And to sit there and say, well, we don't think you're going to graduate on time, so we're going to make that decision for you and keep you out, is really tragic. It's tragic for students like Khadija and the other students who are forced to file a lawsuit, and it's a tragic loss for this nation because we're cutting these students off at the knees. Certainly a teacher who observes this needs to bring it to the attention of the school board, remind your school leadership what the law is in your community. And certainly if you're not getting any answers and you're able to do it, call your local reporting staff, call the local newspaper, the local TV station, and say, look, these people are violating the law. I mean, that's not an acceptable thing. We don't have a right in this nation to pick a group of children, whether they're Black, Hispanic, poor, live in a certain part of town, X, Y, and Z, and say, you cannot be educated here. That is not a decision we make. We welcome all children regardless of their immigration status. That was established, I believe, in 1982 out of a case in Texas. We've already visited this issue and we've determined that we do owe and benefit greatly when we educate all the children in our community.
And we just actually saw, I know you were in the Facebook group, in Pam's Facebook group, where a teacher just posed this question of, how do you serve students who are 17 that come and they're new to English? And one of our PLN friends, Chris Tennyson, said, read this book. You need to know this story, because we are all advocates in this platform of education, and particularly for our multilingual students. We need to support them and be their voice when they're not being treated fairly, or their systems or policies are unjust or inequitable.
That's right. And teachers are incredible advocates for kids, particularly ESL teachers. I feel like there's like a special place for them. They're just really remarkable group of kids. We just encourage all teachers and all educators to consider that these children are gifted, that they are enthusiastic, work, that they want to better their lives. Go into it with that mindset rather than a deficit mindset, like, oh, this kid is coming here at a loss, they don't have this, that, and the other. We kind of look at these kids as like an empty bucket that needs to be filled up, rather than looking at them as pretty solid where they are, who would like the added skill of English. I mean, Khadijah speaks 3 languages. Guess how many languages I speak? I'm a Northwestern University graduate and a Columbia University fellow, meaning I was paid more than $80,000 to attend Columbia University. I speak 1 language. I speak English. Khadijah speaks English, 4, and Arabic. And if there is not a place in this country for a child as skilled as Khadijah is, then I don't know what we're all doing here, because I think she's pretty remarkable.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Thank you.
And we recognize your brilliance, Khadijah. I'm so excited to have you here today. And I know that so many teachers who read this book are so excited to get to hear directly from you, because you represent why we do what we do. We are so passionate about making sure that we learn enough about the population of students that we teach, so that we can do the best in our work to serve you the way that you deserve to be served.
Thank you.
Because this book is not highlights one issue. There are so many others, and we're just really on a quest to make sure that we can do the best we can to serve all the students, but particularly our multilingual students, and learn more about our refugee students and our students who are newcomers to the country, because you bring with you so much. And it's part of our responsibility to understand those stories so that we can teach you effectively.
Yes.
Khadijah, I'd love to ask you a question now. Can you share some examples of good experiences you had once you started attending McCaskey?
When I started attending school at McCaskey, all I wanted is like, at McCaskey, I learned what I want to learn.
Khadijah, move the camera. We can't see your face anymore. Okay. So start again, honey. What was the best part of McCaskey?
The best part of McCaskey, like, you learn what you are here for. And all teachers are incredible. The teacher put their attention to their student. And that's what I wanted. Like, it's the best school.
Can you share something, Khadijah, that your teachers did that really helped you or made you feel safe when you were at school?
That made me feel safe. Like, right here when I go, like, you don't have to wear a uniform every day. They don't sort your body. Like, there was a thing they used to do it on at Phoenix when they put me there. But on McCaskey, they don't have those type of thing. Like, teachers are really nice. Like,
and I think you're referring to the pat downs, right, Khadijah? You're saying that at Phoenix Academy, when you walked in the door, you were patted.
When you walk through the door every morning,
Right.
And you can take your book bag with you, but on McCaskey, you can bring your homework with you to study for the night. So next morning you go, you're ready. So but
That's
on that
something.
one, when I used to go, you don't bring your book bag with you. And how can someone learn? Like you leaving everything to school and you just came at home only with your hand. If they give you another exam, you don't even know for the next one. You can't do the other one. And that's why I don't like it.
That's something that the teachers who read this book talked about, was how you couldn't carry a backpack with you and how you couldn't take any materials or books or resources home if you wanted to study or practice at home, which is that's really hard.
Yeah, it's just like people are going to take it and leaving everything there. Say no, that's not how school works.
Khadijah, do you have any advice that you would give to other refugee students or immigrant students who begin school in the US?
My advice to other refugees is I'm encouraging them so they can go to the school where they deserve to go, because we come so far away and we just don't come here to spend our time for no reason. We came here as to learn, because that's what bringing us here.
Yeah, and you have that right to learn.
Yes.
You are entitled to that right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And one thing about this country, I love it. Like it has a human right.
Yeah.
That's why I like it.
Yeah.
You can be anything you want to be.
And I remember it says that you were hoping to become a nurse.
Yes, I am.
Do you want to share about that?
I'm for nursing right now too. I am, yes. I want to be a nurse because, we need more nurses back in our country, even right here. And that's what I want to be, a nurse, because I can protect other people, I can protect my families, anyone who needs.
I love that. Well, it's wonderful that you are someone who was willing to speak up for what you believed in, because what we read in the story is that some of the other students were afraid to do that. Because
I know for a fact, but if you don't fight for yourself, no one is gonna fight. You have to be strong to fight for your right.
I love that. I love that message, Khadijah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Khadijah, what is something that you wish your teachers knew about you?
At McCaskey or where? Or like Phoenix?
At McCaskey.
It's actually a long time ago. It's almost like 5 years. It was a lot, but I think I forget some of them. Like,
if I could, let me put it to a different way, Khadijah, because I think your teachers at McCaskey were pretty great, and they knew a little bit about you. And
they're very nice. They helped me with my work. When I think they gotta train you for 2 weeks. And they even bring another volunteer to help you. Like they bring volunteer in a classroom, helping student when you need. They're there when you need them.
What about your teachers at Phoenix? What do you think they missed out on knowing about you?
The one thing I really just don't like it that when we were in a class, the teacher will work out and just close the door and leave the student inside the class. But when you call for help, they're not there. What can you do? And the other one is just playing around, noises. And the teacher are out and the student are like inside the class. And I don't like that because I am there to learn and I am not learning. And that's why I sue my local school that I need to go to the private school to learn, because we came here to learn, not just to stay and just before they just offering me with the job, they were just telling me, oh, you are just too old to go to McCarthy. You just have to get a job right away. And I told them, I do not want to get any job until I go to school to learn, and then later I will do what I want to do it. And that's why they told me, like, if you want to go to McCaskey, you will have to go to the courthouse. And when the judge says, like, there's a rule that you can go, and you will go. And that's why we worked so hard to get right there. I was almost to give up, but I didn't want to give up. I just said, I'm just going to keep trying until I get what I need.
That's wonderful. You're such a role model, Khadijah, for other students who might feel like something that's happening is too big of a problem, that they won't be able to do anything about it. And what you're saying is, go for it and don't give up.
Yes.
You have an important voice, and your voice and your experience matters so much. And I hope that through teachers reading this book and hearing your story, and I know Carol Salva is reading it with some of her former students, I hope that your message spreads far and wide to really help other students feel and know that their voice matters too.
That's what we want to hear it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Jo, I want to ask you another question. What is one of your most powerful or poignant memories about investigating this story and writing the book?
I mean, it was wonderful to see Khadijah grow so much over these years. I mean, I met Khadijah in the summer of 2016, and at the time she could barely speak any English. So to see her grow and become kind of getting used to American culture a bit, and kind of, that's a really unique thing that happens to all immigrant families. And I feel like Khadijah, of all the children, was kind of like the one who held on most to the Darfurian kind of way of doing things, and the younger kids were kind of like quickly Americanized in a lot of ways. So it was kind of fascinating to see, you know, that play out in a family. I was actually really excited to learn. I went and visited and spent the day with Khadijah's family last week, that her two youngest sisters do speak four. I didn't think that they spoke the language or able to retain it, but they do. Perfect English, no accent, and they still some Arabic and some four. And it was like, wow, I was really excited to see them hold on to this. So I've had memories of them, you know, sharing meals with me. And this is a family that doesn't have a lot of means, but like many families without a lot of means, were thrilled to share whatever they had with me. You know, they made me so comfortable and welcome, and they would make these beautiful, they would serve me tea all the time in this incredibly gorgeous tea set. And in America, we don't really do that. You give someone a mug of tea and that's the end of it.
We do in our country. When you have a guest, you have to serve them every time, you know? That's what we do. It's really nice.
It is really nice. I mean, it's like, you feel like you're at the Waldorf Astoria. It's just like this incredibly beautiful tea set comes out with the best tea you've ever had in your entire life, served just for you. And just the welcoming nature of the family. You know, I feel like part, I do definitely feel like I'm part Sudanese. Like after spending all this time with Khadijah's family,
Our family, yes.
I'm definitely a member of Khadijah's family, and it's the best family to be a member of. They're really remarkable, loving, caring, optimistic. I mean, look at the smile on Khadijah's face. The kid who ran at 5 years old from a war-torn country to a refugee camp for 12 years. The smile on her face, that's with her every day. And her mother is the same way. You know, these are an optimistic, caring, hardworking, loving group of people who has unlimited potential in what they can do. Khadijah had, who is in her early 20s now, had an absolutely beautiful little baby less than a year ago. And we talk about the baby's future academically. And so when I was hanging out with last week, we now decided to start calling her Dr. Zainab, because we feel like a doctorate, you know, PhD level education is within her grasp, you know, and Khadijah's going to make that happen. As far as she goes, and not go further. And you can hear her and her husband talk about education all the time. They talk about what's a good school district for Zainab. Now, this kid isn't even one yet. But we talk about what's the right school for her. You know, is McCaskey good enough for her? Well, I don't know. Maybe this other school is good. It's like education is front of mind. And Khadijah, talk about that. What do you hope for Zainab? What do you hope her future will be like?
I just want her go where I use. Like, I am hoping that my baby don't go what I through.
Right.
So like she can have a best life, get the best school she deserves. And that's what all matters for my baby to go, to have it.
For Dr. Zainab, we got to get her off to a good start.
Yes, we are gonna make this happen, yes.
I love that. And it's those stories that are revealed from families and students that are so integral to how we as educators can make our instruction meaningful for students. And it's finding those ways to make students comfortable to share their background and their experiences and what makes their family special, and how, you know, who else is in their family, what do they do with their family, all of those little things, the multiple languages that they speak and how they navigate their home culture and the school culture. All of those stories and those little pieces of information are so wonderful for teachers to know, and so important for schools and teachers to access, so that we can make sure that we're incorporating them into our instruction. Because, you know, there is kind of a lot of systems of whiteness, and there's a lot of problems with how school can be in the US. And so knowing those stories humanizes all of our students, so that we can just better understand and see the connections. When you were talking about, you just want the best for your daughter. I have 2 daughters. I feel the same way. We're fellow moms. You know, there's so much connection in knowing those stories, and it's so beautiful.
And I think
Thank
too,
you.
if teachers could remember, like, yes, you're teaching a child in front of you in this classroom, but you're setting that child up to set their own child's life up. So the impact you're having is multi-generational. If Khadijah had a substandard education, which I would argue she certainly did at Phoenix Academy, and she lost basically a year of instruction, and that cost really, right, Khadijah? I mean, language acquisition was delayed by a year. You know, she had to spend a lot of her community college time, which, by the way, she's paying money for, to learn English. That should have been done at the high school level. So when we just say, oh, we're pushing these kids out, they're too old to enroll, we don't take kids at 18, what's the value of this? So now it's on Khadijah to pay out of pocket for something that should have been and is free in this country. And so, you know, it really did, even though she won this suit, and she's such a tremendous, she's like my superhero, she's a tremendous young woman, it's not fair to her that that had to go down like that. But yes, teachers, please remember, you're teaching these kids, but they're a few years away from being parents. And the better you set them up, think of them like your own sons and daughters. How well would you like your own son and daughter to be ready to start a family? You know, what level of academia, you know, should they reach in order to be able to do that? I mean, oh, look at baby Zainab. Dr. Zainab's with us.
Another special guest.
So Dr. Zainab,
She's laughing too.
I swear to you that this, you know, this baby will go further educationally than Khadijah because of Khadijah's drive to make sure this child goes far. So you're going to look and see in one generation, Khadijah now has some college education. Dr. Zainab is probably going to get at least 4 years, potentially a master's. And if I have anything to do with it, you know, but she really, Jen, I'm serious about that. I mean, we're not joking about this. I came from an orphanage in Bogota, Colombia. I went through Northwestern, as I said, and Columbia University as a fellow. These things happen, and they happen with the help of caring, loving teachers, stable schools, facilities that aren't falling apart, textbooks and materials that are quality. But all of that in the classroom, the biggest impact on a child's life in school is a loving teacher. So I know we have that in our ESL population, and we need more of it, and we need our ESL folks to act as advocates for these kids.
Yes.
That's so beautifully stated, Jo. Thank you so much. Is there anything else that either of you want to share before we end today?
No.
Khadijah, what's the future going to be like for Dr. Zainab? What do you think is going to be her future?
Oh, it's gonna be so great, doctor. We have to work hard for that to get her there.
And we will. I would say for myself, you know, I'm just so thrilled that people care about this group of kids because immigrants, refugees, Muslim folks took such a beating in the recent years and just were so maligned. And here we have, when we meet a child like Asia who's gone through so much, is getting there, chipping away at her education, she's making progress. Not all superheroes wear capes. Some of them wear hijabs and they're just as great. So I'm so proud of you, Khadija. I love you to pieces. I love Dr. Zainab, and I
I
can't wait.
love you too.
Well, thank you both so much for taking the time
No
to
problem.
join today. It's been such a pleasure talking with you and
It's my pleasure to meet you too.
so inspiring. Khadija, we appreciate so much that you're here. And Jo, thank you for writing the book. And many of us have said we would love to read a book about your life story because it's fascinating. So if and when you write that book, make sure you call me because I would love to read that and discuss that with teachers too, because it's a very, very interesting story.
Well, I'm so glad. Thank you so much for putting this together. Thank you, teachers, for reading it. And thank you for all the frontline work you do every single day in one of the
Thank
toughest.
you so much.
Yes. Thank you.